our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Monmouth in the flesh.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Hello, horror hounds, and happy Halloween, and welcome to another episode of the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
And I'm a barn kitten, Mike.
I'm Colton.
And it's Jill.
And we have brought a very special guest, and, you know, if you've been listening to us for, like 4 years now, you already know who we brought, because who else would we torture to watch every Halloween movie? Who else? But OG cast member Xylia is here.
Hello. Woo! Partay.
That's right. Is she happy that she watched this at 5 a.m. in the morning? We'll find out. It's just a secret.
She doesn't look very happy.
You can never guess.
Yeah. So hopefully everyone is going to enjoy their Halloween, or if you're listening to this after, enjoyed Halloween, because this is our last episode of the month. But let's get into it, because I'm sure we have lots to talk about. What we've been consuming, what have we been watching, what have we been reading, what have we been listening to. Mike, we'll start with you.
Okay, I have been consuming things that are not at all horror related, which is October blasphemy, but unfortunately that's the way it worked out. I decided to go back and start watching for a second time. Okay, no, let me rephrase that. I started watching the Issa Rae show Insecure a couple years ago with a friend, and then we got estranged, so I stopped watching it, and now I figured I should start watching it again, and I'm really enjoying that. I have to say, it's wonderful. But other than that, all I've been doing with my time is reading the amazing new Madonna biography that came out last week. Superb, almost 900 pages. It has already, I'm like, I don't know, 300 pages in, and I've already cried 3 times. It's amazing. Anybody who's a fan of pop culture or Madonna or Michigan history or New York history in the 80s or club history in the 80s, it's amazing so far. But honestly, that's all I've done and consumed. What about you, Jill?
Not much here. Today I started watching the fall of the House of Usher because everyone and their mother is watching it. So I only seen the first episode, but so far so good. It's pretty intriguing. Apart from that, I watched The Shining twice this week because it was so good that I had to watch it again. And I've been sick, so yesterday I watched Dark Shadows and a NyQuil fever dream.
Nice.
That's the only way to watch that movie.
I went on Letterboxd and I saw that everyone was taking a giant shit on it, and that's one of my favorite Tim Burton movies, not gonna lie.
Ooh.
So you had to counteract it and give it a 5-star, right?
I did not rate it because I didn't want the backlash that would come with that from a certain person on this podcast. But I love it. I think it's hilarious. I love anachronisms, and I love that scene, and I use it all the time to teach anachronisms to my students. When Johnny Depp's character is coming out of the grave and he sees a McDonald's and shit. It's so funny. Anyways, I like it. Apart from that, I finally finished Fourth Wing, and it turned out to be good. Because I was shitting on it. The first 100 pages
I was gonna say you
was
were
rough.
mid.
Yeah. It actually is pretty good, and I'm excited for the next one coming out in November. And I just got back from Disney and Universal, and I went to Halloween Horror Nights for the first time, so that was pretty cool. I did the Stranger Things 4 haunted house and the Last of Us house, and they're pretty cool. So yeah, I had a good time. The lines are really long. Had some good food, bought lots of cool merch, saw lots of spooky stuff. Did not get to see the Megan's dance, which I was really sad about. But apart from that, I definitely want to go back. It was really fun. What about you, Colton?
Yeah, I also checked out the first episode of The Fall of the House of Usher, and I didn't watch any more yet. I don't know if I'm sold. I've heard that it gets better as it goes on, but it kind of just felt like a discount Knives Out to me, which wasn't really what I was looking for from like a Mike Flanagan TV show released this time of year. Outside of that, I've been incredibly busy with work, so the only other thing I found time to watch, which I had to like literally just block out a whole afternoon, was Martin Scorsese's new movie, Killers of the Flower Moon. I feel like maybe Rowan should give his thoughts on this movie first, because I'm kind of like a voice of... I'm in the minority on this one overall, where I think Rowan liked it a lot more. So, Rowan, how about you talk about it, and then I'll get into my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, to me, I kind of felt like it was like second tier Scorsese. Like, I don't think it's like Goodfellas good or anything like that. I will say, like, everyone that I've kind of heard talk about it or anything has also, like, said that it fares better on a second watch. You can kind of understand some stuff a little more. I wrote, like, a really long Letterboxd review to it.
I read it, so I was like, yeah, he's a little bit more positive than I am, yeah.
I think, like, it does look really good. I like the score. Lily Gladstone's amazing in it. But yeah, I think like most people, the kind of debate going on right now is, what is Scorsese's place in telling this indigenous story, and like, is it kind of his story to tell? Which I think he does kind of address. He's been doing a lot of press for this, so
yeah,
I thought
the movie does kind of get there with that.
Yeah.
It does kind of address it, but I don't know. I still don't really like how it addresses it, but most people love it, so I don't know. For me, that didn't really work. But yeah, overall for me, I just kind of felt like the pacing was off for the entire thing. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a 3.5 hour movie, so how can you even, make that interesting for that amount of time? But for me, it's just like the whole thing just kind of felt like a plateau. Like the drama, like never reached the natural climax. I didn't feel like the tensions boiled over where, like the Osage people pushed back or something like that. It just kind of plods along and then it ends. And for me, I think a lot of it is actually due to this feeling when I was watching the movie that I just think the viewpoint of the narrative is all wrong. Like, Rowan mentioned that Lily Gladstone is like a great actress, and her character is like really interesting in this movie, but she's not the focal point of the movie. She's not the viewpoint character. And the viewpoint characters that are present are like 1 or 2 steps removed from like the atrocities that are happening in the movie. And the movie still treats it as like a mystery, as like, why is this happening, and who is it happening to, and what is happening? And it's just like, I think you'd have to be like really dumb to not understand literally from 15 minutes into this movie what is happening and who is perpetrating this. And the movie like just strings you along for 3 hours before it ever explicitly says it. And for me, I was just like, this can't be the answer to the movie, or this can't be the revelation at the end. And honestly, it just kind of is, and it's just kind of said so. So that left me feeling a little bit cold. And I also feel like the way that the movie kind of portrays the violent acts, it goes out of its way to kind of do it in a very like the least cinematic way possible. Like, it is very much treating it like more matter of fact, or more like, aspects from like a newspaper or something like that, or like a news reporting. And for me, it kept me at arm's length, because there was moments in the movie that should have ripped my heart out, but it more so felt like I was like reading an obituary that was published in a newspaper rather than like being in the funeral or something. It was just like, I don't know, it's just weird. It just kept me like, I don't know, it was like, this shit is messed up and this is cold and this is horrific, but it was just like, once again, it was always just so matter of fact that I was like, okay, yep, it happened. It happens for like 30 seconds, then it skips on, and it's like another 20 minutes with Leonardo DiCaprio doing something else or whatever. It's just, I don't know. It was a bit of a strange watch for me. And I know Rowan mentioned the score. I hated the score for the movie.
Oh, wow.
It drove me crazy. And I know that the composer passed away, and everyone's talking about how he's probably going to win the Oscar for like a posthumous Oscar on this. But for me, it just sounded like the same 4 or 5 notes being plucked on a guitar or a banjo or whatever for 3.5 hours. And once I noticed it, it was something I couldn't unnotice. And at best, it was like this kind of ever-present distraction. And at worst, I was just annoyed. So I don't know. It's with all that said, the acting is still excellent. You know, it's still a story that's well worth telling. I agree with Rowan. I don't know if Scorsese's necessarily the one that should have been the one to tell it, but also nobody else. Like, no one from the Osage people are going to get $200 million to tell their story either. So it's kind of like, well, at least it's getting out there to some degree. And I think it's interesting and admirable that Scorsese is still able to make these like huge slow burn dramas 50 years into his film career. And he's not like out of touch, right? It's still like, he feels like a director that is like even more self-aware of like how he built his career and what he's saying with his movies than even when, 10 years ago. So yeah, I think it's probably good overall. I did enjoy watching it while I was watching it and like taking it in, but ultimately like where it all winds up in the end, it wasn't a good enough payoff for me, I think, to like wholeheartedly recommend it or watch it again anytime soon. It's just kind of anticlimactic to me in the end. I definitely expected more from it, especially with everyone throwing around masterpiece. Like, everyone's giving this like 5 stars on Letterboxd. Everyone's saying it's Scorsese's masterpiece, and if he dies, then at least he went out on top and all this stuff. And it's just
like the Haunted Mansion is a masterpiece.
Yeah, exactly. It has the same laurels as the Haunted Mansion, 100%. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't feel that with it. But yeah, that's all I've watched. Killers of the Flower Moon and 1 episode of The Fall of the House of Usher. What about you, Xylia? Have you been consuming or watching anything?
Yeah, so Rowan and I also started The Fall of the House of Usher. We finished 2 episodes so far.
Okay.
I know what you meant with the first episode. The second episode is really good, and I think it does start to develop even like that quickly. So we also Rowan and I went to the city a couple times in the past week or so, and we saw The Birds in the theater, or as Rowan says, the cinema. And we also saw Evil Dead 2.
Fuck yeah.
Which, yeah, it was really cool. I love seeing like old horror movies in the theater. So that was really enjoyable. In terms of what I've been listening to that's horror related, well, the It Slays podcast horrific playlist. Hello.
Wow.
I've also been listening to, I think I found her on TikTok, but there's this woman named Miranda Vandergriff, and she does these Spotify playlists that, well, she just basically opens her playlist up for people to listen to, but she has one that she made for a Halloween party last year, and it's not necessarily like Monster Mash, but it's like just like the vibe is Halloween and fall. She also has other playlists on Spotify that are like basically putting you in the perspective of different characters that would be in horror movies. So she has ones like Maybe I'm the Monster, and it's like a playlist from that perspective. Or there's one about like Help, I'm Falling in Love with the Villain. And yeah, so those have been really cool. And
so
also,
just every playlist.
What?
We're all falling in love with the villain. Sorry.
Well, the movie villain. I mean,
Okay.
That's I think what she means specifically. And one about like you're the main character in a haunted house movie. So yeah, and we have the similar interest in music, like the same kind of music. So Mike, you would probably really like the playlist she makes.
Oh yeah, I'm already into this big time.
And I haven't really read anything like horror-y, and that's not something I've ever really done in the past, but I've actually recently been looking at some books that are horror related that I do want to get. So one's Never Whistle at Night. So this is like an anthology of like indigenous horror-ish kind of stories.
I tried to get that and it literally sold out.
What? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I have it in town here and they have it for $20. Yeah. I love the cover. The cover's also
it's
just,
beautiful.
like,
It's beautiful, yeah.
And another one that I want to read is called Woman Eating by Claire Coda. I've never seen it in person, but I've only seen it online.
It just came out in paperback.
Yes, okay, yeah.
It's been on my list for like 2 years, yeah.
And I'm not really like a vampire person, but it seems a bit more unconventional, and
I think it has like vibe of like Chelsea G. Summers sort of thing, like
yeah, and I just love how she's like biracial, and she's like, I want to try all these Japanese foods and all, like, so yeah, that's right up my alley. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. What about you, Rowan?
Yeah, so you guys knew you're in trouble because I'm on vacation. So what else am I gonna do?
No.
As we sit here and listen,
vacation during October.
Us sitting here for 10 minutes as he lists off every movie he's watched.
Yeah.
I'll try to make it pretty quick. I'm just gonna breeze through and not really mention. I did watch like some non-horror stuff, so I got to check out Reptile, which is like the new Netflix film. It was pretty like mid. I watched...
Agreed.
Yeah. I watched The 7-Year Itch for the first time. I know I'd reported couple months ago that I'd seen like my first Marilyn Monroe movie. So this came up on Tubi and I was like, let me try another one. And I really enjoyed this one. It's kind of cool. It's like a fever dream movie. And Marilyn Monroe just is amazing. I saw Donnie Brasco for the first time. Shout out to Jill's boy, Johnny Depp. He's in it. And that was pretty mid also. Johnny Depp living mid.
That's his whole career.
And then the only...
Are you serious? Are we gonna fight?
Oh, we're gonna get in our first fight.
Girl, let me take my earrings off. Just kidding, I'm not wearing any earrings.
And then the only other thing I watched that wasn't horror was I finally saw Minding the Gap. I had it on my watch list for a while. And I really liked it. I like 5-starred it. It's like a documentary about like skateboarders, but it's not really. It's just about like cycles of violence, stuff like that. And it was pretty, I teared up a couple times. It's really good. I suggest everyone watches it. But let's get it. We want to hear the horror stuff. So I did some rewatches. I rewatched Friday the 13th and Friday the 13th Part 2.
May I ask if it was in 4K?
No, so it was just on Paramount Plus. Because I watched them on my last days of work with the young guy that I watch all the horror movies he's never seen. And he's really into Friday the 13th now. Like, he has really been enjoying it. And we also watched...
I just have to throw out that the 4K, like, literally is like watching another movie.
Yeah, I've seen the 4K for the first one, and it's really good. We also watched Freddy vs. Jason, because that's really what he wanted to get to. And I mean, that's always... I have a soft spot for it just because I was that age when it hit, so I remember seeing it in the theater. Rewatched The Wicker Man again with Xylia, because Xylia had never seen it.
Which one?
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, Xylia.
The old one.
The old one.
Thank God.
The bees.
Would have been really awkward if she was like, oh, the
the Nicolas Cage.
The Nick Cage one's my fave. Jesus.
I rewatched World War Z, because I hadn't seen that since it came out. I watched Garfield's Halloween Adventure, one I hadn't seen. Every year I watch Garfield's Christmas, and I didn't know he had any other holiday specials from the 80s. So we did watch that. I watched The Puppet Man, which is I think came out last week on Shudder. It's a Shudder exclusive. I'm trying to think of the director's name, DeBlaise or something. He had a movie that kind of made some noise called The Last Shift a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. This is his new movie, and yeah, it was fine. You guys know I don't really like to give horror movie reviews in case we ever talk about them. And then I watched Extremity, which I feel would be up Jill's alley. It's about extreme haunts, and it's like super edgelord, but it's...
Oh, fuck you. I'm gonna write it down, though.
Yeah, it's on Shudder right now. It feels like it would have came out, like, around the time of, like, Hostel and Saw. Like, it just has that, like, 2000s feel edgelord. Like, oh, you know, how edgy can we get? And I was just like, this is a Jill movie for sure.
I love how you compared it to Jill and then somehow managed to put the word edgelord in there like 12 times in 30 seconds.
What are you trying to say, man? I'm sorry, I'm just too fucking cool for you.
And the only other thing I watched was I watched Halloween 4 the other night, just to get some prep in, refresh my memory. And I'm happy to say, Halloween 4 has actually jumped up in my Halloween franchise ratings after this view. I just really, really got into it. I feel like I didn't give it a fair shake the first time. But yeah, that's all I've been consuming, really. So let's get into the main event. The reason everyone's here to talk about everyone's favorite Halloween, Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers from 1989. And I feel like we don't really need to say why we chose this. It's Halloween. We do a Halloween movie every year. So let's get into the trailer, and then we'll be back with the synopsis and first experiences.
Help me now.
We both know he's alive, but you know where he is.
Halloween 5. This time, they're ready. This time, he's unmasked. And this time, he's back with a vengeance. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers.
Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers was directed by Dominic Othenin-Girard and written by Michael Jacobs and Dominic Othenin-Girard and Shem Bitterman. And the story is as follows. After lying in a coma for a year, Michael Myers suddenly awakens on Halloween Eve and stalks his way back to his hometown of Haddonfield, Illinois, intent on killing his niece, Jamie, who has been confined to a children's mental health facility since Michael's last attempt to kill her. Suspecting a psychic link between Michael and Jamie, psychiatrist Dr. Loomis joins forces with Sheriff Ben Meeker in a desperate attempt to stop Michael's latest rampage.
So we know where we're going to start. First experiences. Is this our first time seeing this? Or every Halloween do we binge watch every Halloween movie ever, and you just have to sit there for Lord knows how many of these are there now, like 15 or something? I don't know. It's a lot of watch time. It's longer than Killers of the Flower Moon. You have to see Killers of the Flower Moon,
but
like,
not much longer.
I was gonna say you have to see it like 3 times to match up with it. We'll start with you, Xylia. Is this your first time seeing it?
I think so. Unless we saw it randomly as teenagers, which Rowan's shaking his head no, then nope, never seen it. Okay, sorry. What about you, Jill?
Yeah, same. This one escaped me. So sad.
Kind of like how Michael always escapes.
Yup, just like a cockroach.
He certainly does. At the beginning of this movie, he escapes all right. Pretty good.
It's like we already saw that happen last year.
And
Anyway.
the year before.
Yeah. and the year before. What about you, Mike?
I think, and I could be wrong, that this is the first Halloween movie I ever saw. It was either this or 4. I'm still confused about the timeline, but it was one of those things where, like, when we were growing up, we were all kind of, like, raised by the whole block. Like, our whole street, we would just, like, all go to each other's houses and stuff in, like, big groups, and there was lots of, like, big sisters and big brothers, and I don't know. I didn't have anything to do with the big brothers, but I was always hanging out with the big sisters, and one of them was looking after us one night and showed us either number 4 or number 5, and I think it was this one. So
I feel like you would remember which one
I mean, but they're almost the same movie, right? So I just...
Almost. This one's just, a tad bit different.
Okay, fair. But, yeah, I think I got showed it then, and I've seen it a few times over the years. It's not one of the, like the first 3 I, have revisited multiple times, especially, I mean, number 1 I've seen like 800 times. But, yeah, I've seen it a few times over the years. The last time I watched it was, I want to say 5 years ago or 4 years ago, whenever there was a limited edition box set put out, and I just watched all of them.
It's wild that's your first one that you've seen.
Yeah, I know. How did I even watch any of the rest of them, right? Like,
yeah, I would be scarred.
No, yeah, and I mean, so this is honestly the first time I've watched it in years. So, Colton, what say you?
Yeah, I've seen the first 3 a good number of times, each of them, or at least a couple of times each. But last year was the first time I saw 4, so I'm not going to bother to watch ahead anymore. This is the first time I've seen 5. And I don't think I've seen any of the other ones up until you get to like the Rob Zombie era. So I have a few more new Halloween movies left to watch. But yeah, first time watch for me. Rowan, did you say this is first time watch?
No. So I've seen this kind of like Mike. I feel like every couple years I actually, because I'm crazy, sit down and do like the whole Halloween watch. Like I'm going to watch every single one. So I've seen this a couple times. 4, 5, and 6. I said on the 4 episode too, like these are the ones that I don't ever really revisit unless I'm going through them all. My Halloween always features Busta Rhymes, so
I hate you so much.
it was one of the big faults with the original Halloween was that there was no Tyra Banks or Busta Rhymes. So luckily, later on we'll correct that in the series. But yeah, no, I've seen this a handful of times, I'm sure. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into the candy corn and sickle of things. We know where we're starting, our favorite scene and or favorite kill. Jill, you sound like this is a sleigh as usual. So, what is your favorite scene and or favorite kill?
I'm gonna do the classic Jill. I'm gonna do a favorite scene, favorite kill. Favorite scene was when Max the dog did not get brutally murdered in the beginning, which I was like, they're gonna murder this poor dog, and I'm just, it's too early for this. But they didn't, thank God. However, Tina was like, I'll get you a bowl of water, Max. She goes into the house. What does she do? She does not, in fact, get that good boy a bowl of water. So that's 1 point taken off for Tina.
Luckily, there's a toilet around, though.
He's like chained on hard. Anyways, I'm glad that no one fucked with Max there. Anyway, favorite kill. I'm trying to remember who it was, but it was like through the car window. It was really quick. Yeah, the police car. Yeah. It was pretty brutal, but it was really quick. And I was like, whoa, what about you, Rowan?
Really, what I should say is my favorite scene. My favorite scene is when Max dies. But I would like to note that dog Michael Myers loves killing dogs throughout this whole series, but does not kill cats. So, Michael Myers, good in my books.
Jesus Christ.
No, my favorite scene and favorite kill is Mikey's death in the car with the like garden hoe or whatever it is, the rake.
Oh wait, there were 2 car ones.
Yeah. But I thought it was really funny. I just, that guy you knew was gonna get it. And what better way before you kill him than to the pettiness of Michael Myers, just scratching his car up and just making sure to really get him angry. But yeah, that's my favorite scene and favorite kill. What about you, Colton?
I'm just going to go with a favorite scene. My favorite scene was the garbage chute scene. I like that. With Jamie kind of sliding down there. She was like hanging on, and then Michael finds her, and then she slides down to the bottom, and she's stuck, and he can't get out, and he pursues her down there. She winds up using his knife to stand on it to like scurry up and out of danger. I don't know. That was a fun scene. A lot of this movie, I don't know if it has much tension. You don't really care what's going to happen to the characters, or, you're just kind of there to watch the carnage unfold. There was like one of the few scenes where I kind of felt like someone was like hiding away from Michael and actually had like a chance of escaping. So I was also curious just to see like, oh, are they gonna, be friends at the end of this scene or something? Is she gonna like, basically be like, oh, we're the same. And she kind of does do that, I think, right beforehand or right after that, where she acknowledges him. I can't remember, is it before or after?
I think it's after, I believe.
Either way, it was the type of thing where I was like, oh, they might team up here, because once again, like, they kind of just don't address it really at all in this movie, but she was kind of set up to almost be like a new killer at the end of Halloween 4, and they kind of just backpedal on all that, right? So I was hoping to see if that would rear its head or what would happen there. But yeah, that was probably my favorite scene. What about you? All right, Mike.
I'm gonna be basic, and my favorite scene is also my favorite kill, and it was, as you may have guessed from my little intro bit, the barn scene.
Yes.
Because obviously it's like, a little carnage scene, but it's also really cute because they find the kitties and, there's like fake outs. And I love, as anybody who's ever had the misfortune of watching Friday the 13th Part 3 with me knows, I love a good barn scene in a slasher movie. And I knew, obviously, as soon as this came on, I'm like, oh, this is going to be Carnage Central. And it was. And I just loved it because I loved that it was so, like, trying to ape, like, Friday the 13th and do the, like, sexy. It was, like, the one time where it was like, okay, we're going to get really sexy now. And, like, they're going to get their tits out and then get murdered. Yeah. And, of course,
it was so prolonged as well. The sex
my
scene
God,
was just so long. It's like,
it was
probably
awkward.
minutes. Yeah.
And
it was awkward.
Barking and the growling. What was that?
Yeah, listen.
What was that?
I don't know. But there was a really great shot after the dude, whose name I'm not even going to pretend to remember, gets pitchforked.
Spit.
Which I thought was very cool. When she's running away and, like, you know, she's got her like cleavage very out, and it's just like covered in blood. And I just thought that was such a cool shot. It was like the most artful shot of the movie to me. So I just really loved that. I love that it was like trying to take on Friday the 13th, even though it kind of like was the OG series, but like I feel like at this point Friday the 13th was probably more popular, so they're like, okay, well now we're gonna like kind of go full circle and be like imitating the imitators, and I just love that. Xylia, what about you? I know you've got multiple favorites.
In the first time in the history of this podcast, I was ready. I was so ready and prepared for these. I never used to know. Well, first of all, I want to say how interesting it is that Rowan chose that as his favorite scene, considering the other night when we left Evil Dead 2, he may have the pettiness of it all, may have scratched quite a bit of paint off my car and broke a bunch of shit on it. So I thought that was interesting. You picked that one.
Wait, what happened? What happened?
He was backing up and he was trying to pay attention to a wall that was 2 whole parking spots away.
It wasn't, but that's okay.
Yeah,
guys.
it was.
Don't gaslight her.
Right? And instead, he swung the front of my car around and smashed it into a concrete pillar.
Nice.
So
you need to save for yourself.
Car.
At least it was another car. What?
She's making it seem like the car's like total.
Well, it's not
listeners.
total. But
trust me, it's not.
It's going into the shop tomorrow.
She's been driving it all weekend. It looks like a tiny bit of paint. Listeners, she's painting me with a bad light here.
Okay. So, anyways, don't believe anything he says. But, okay, so anyways, my favorite scene, obviously the kitties. Like, you're playing to your audience here. And then my favorite kill was also the pitchfork while they're having sex. And mostly because it reminded me of My Bloody Valentine.
Yes,
when they're in the mine and he like takes his like, what is it, ice pick? I don't know. Don't come for me. I don't know these technical terms for these tools. Pickaxe. So yeah, that was my favorite.
I was just imagining someone mining with an ice pick.
It might work. It's basically the same thing.
In an ice cave, you do.
Exactly.
I kind of thought maybe an appropriate place to start is the beginning, because I think this is the first movie that doesn't have like necessarily us staring at a pumpkin for the intro. I was kind of curious how everyone felt about it.
Wait, wasn't there like a pumpkin being smashed in the
Well, it was
beginning?
being like brutally carved, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what it was, right? It was like
there was
slashing across. It was, but it wasn't just like in the screen, like, I don't know, decomposing or, you know, being lit up or whatever, you know?
The viewer was inside the pumpkin. As
is that what it was?
Okay.
Yeah, because it was like the knife.
Now we're inside, baby.
Oh, God. It didn't do much for me. I didn't like it. I thought the music was bad. And then the original score like kicks in, or the theme. And I was like, okay, at least it's here, I guess. But I don't know. It didn't really do much for me.
It also didn't do much for me, but I did thoroughly enjoy the music. I liked the weird slight twist on it. I think that was one of the best parts of the movie.
Can I say something?
Anyway, yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of off topic, but like not really. So if you're gonna carve a pumpkin this year, you can take a hand mixer and put it in there, and it'll get all the guts out off the side.
Oh my
God,
God, that's
TikTok.
brilliant. And you can still keep them then and make a pie out of them.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm not going to do that because I'm too lazy, but still, good tip.
I don't have a hand mixer, but yeah.
I thought it was kind of weird because I felt like it was almost out of place. Like, I felt like that would be an intro to something like late 90s, early 2000s, just like the feel of it, where it didn't feel super 80s to me. Yeah, I don't know. There was something kind of about the intro that I did kind of like. Like, it wasn't the music. I just thought it was
very self-aware. The slashing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're gonna get into it too. Like, I think there's like a lot of interesting choices because of who the director is and stuff, like, that aren't really ever done again in this series.
I mean, I don't know, it's better than just staring at a pumpkin, but it was also like the third time we had attempted to watch it, and anybody that used to listen to this podcast knows that movies are the ideal sleeping conditions for me.
Oof.
And you know how Rowan is about that. So yeah, I was more so hate watching it at that point. Because I had seen it 3 times. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was whatever.
I was hoping we could talk about what happens like 2 or 3 minutes after that, where how do we all feel about like the lazy river at like theme parks or water parks? Because Man, oh man, Michael is living his best lazy river life, going down that river at the beginning of the movie. It was like the most unintentionally comedic shit I've seen like a slasher villain do in a while. I was living for that. That was excellent.
That's pretty funny.
That was on my short list of favorite scenes because it was just fucking camp. It was so camp.
I could just basically picture the actor like trying not to drown with this like shitty mask on his face as he's like going down the river that's probably filling with water and whatnot. That was a great scene.
Speaking of shitty masks.
Terrible.
How do we feel about this mask?
Terrible.
Bad. It's bad.
Somehow even worse than you would expect it to.
This one's the worst.
It is. I like whatever that other mask he gets in the movie. I think they called it like the Brute mask or something like that.
The lumpy one?
Yeah, I called him like Muscle Michael.
Like
I thought that looked all right. I don't know. It was a weird choice.
I kind of like the mask in this one because it has like hear me
Oh
out.
my God.
It did not fit him correctly. Okay.
I know, it was very flared around the neck. It was very bell-bottom
the whole
of masks.
face was so janky.
That's
his
what I
hair
kind of
is
like.
too long.
It has like
a
goblin, like sharp point tendencies, and I like that. Also, another note, I went to a Halloween store the other day, and like the array of Michael Myers masks, some of them are so derpy, it's hilarious. But anyways, yeah.
But some of the ones in the movies are so derpy, so it kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Just like the ones in this movie.
Oh.
Yes,
I guess.
exactly.
All right, I'll die on that hill.
I can't believe all the shit I take from Jill for terrible takes, and then you're coming in with this is a good mask.
That might be the worst take of the entire podcast.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, like, to me, it was just, God. They also, like, tried to, like, the mask, it has, like, an expression on it, which, like, the whole point of this mask.
I guess.
He looks angry the entire time. It's so good.
Like, the mask is supposed to be blank. Like, it's just a blank slate.
All right, I'm gonna go fuck myself.
Maybe he's supposed to look angry, because this is revenge. You know?
Oh, true.
See, he's on to
it's an
something.
intentional choice.
Super meta.
Thank you.
I like this.
Yeah, number 4 starts off as, like, blank face, and then it's, like, revenge. It's like, no. It's like, you know,
put the eyebrows on him, you know?
Yeah. He takes a, like, mascara wand and just starts drawing them on.
Listen, those years were hard times for eyebrows. Let's be real. The overplucking and the drawing on that was going on. It's just an artifact of its time.
He was just trying to be like his idol, Tammy Faye Baker.
There were so many scenes, though, where just the camera angles made the, like you were saying, Mike, like the bell-bottom neck so prominent. Like, you could tell how much bigger the mask was than the guy's head, which was just, it was not good.
Well, what's funny is I think the guy who dresses up as Michael as a Halloween costume in that one scene where he has the knife and he's about to like kill the girl, I was like, he kind of looks a little bit better. Like, I understand that it's supposed to like kind of trip you up for a moment, but I think he does look slightly better in that
Who
instance,
wore it better? The teenager.
Yeah, it's a very strange choice.
It's just a shame that this entire town knew to order all these shitty Michael Myers masks and didn't keep any of the ones from the other movies.
It's a good point.
I was gonna say, like, probably the big kind of curious question about this is, so we made a choice in this one that for what, like 50% of it, Jamie is mute, and
inexplicably becomes not.
Yeah. She just
Because
chooses
of
to
Tina.
scream at some point. Yeah.
Fucking Tina.
Is she mute though? Because like when she's trying to express that like Max is gonna die, Danielle Harris is like definitely saying, like, trying to mimic saying the words Max. Is that the dog's name, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But like you can actually hear her say Max, like she actually says it just really quietly, and I was like, well, I don't know, it doesn't seem too mute to me.
I don't know if she's necessarily like mute. It seemed like she had quite a trouble saying words, like she'd be like Max or whatever, and then out of the blue
there is such a thing as selective mutism also. So
well, okay, there we go.
Stop.
I'm not well versed.
I did not spend 3 years working in a child psychiatry office for no reason.
Oh, there you go.
Well, did you learn
Actually, it was literally for no reason, but anyway. It was for this podcast.
For me, I thought it was just basically another way to link her and Michael together, where Michael's not really saying anything, or he never does. But then, once again, they betray it before, like, they link up, or before, like, it makes sense for her to say something. Basically, I thought they were saving it for some specific reason. Like, maybe when they first meet up, and then she calls him uncle, and that's when she starts talking again, I'd be like, okay, at least there was some sort of reason. But it's literally just
it's
like...
not.
Yeah, it's just, it's not well thought out. It's just like, there's a moment where it's like, she should probably start talking now. Like, this is getting weird. Like, it's going on too long, and she's not really the best actress at this point, or, you know, it's just, like, once again, she can't emote through, like, her voice or anything, so it's all, like, very weird. It's very forced, where I was like, oh, this is a weird, like, choice, and then once again, they just completely give up on it, because they're like, fuck this, you know?
Well, I feel like they chose that moment to be like, oh, look, she's finally getting over her trauma, and it's right before she's about to be completely re-traumatized again. That was my interpretation.
Isn't that how it
works? I don't know. Because it's after Rachel gets killed.
It is,
and like Tina kind of becomes the new Rachel, but she doesn't know. Nobody knows that Rachel's dead. Obviously.
She could never fill those shoes.
And
also, Rachel was done so dirty, dirty.
Okay, listen, I'm getting over my mutism of being sick. Thank you. I actually forgot that she was dead when I was rewatching it this time until her fucking body comes up at the end, and I was like, I thought she was out of town.
She was
pressed it. She got done so dirty. She got done so dirty. She was out of town. She was out to lunch.
Yeah, like in 4, they spent all this time making her such a good, strong character, like there for Jamie. And this movie, they're just like, you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna kill her.
But that's like such a fucking 80s slasher sequel thing to do, is to take this beloved character and then be like, you don't get 10 minutes with them and they're gone. Which is such bullshit.
I think it's like, basically, since they were always swapping out directors, the directors probably want to like put their own stamp on it, so they kill off the person that you recognize from the previous movie. And then it's also probably, when you're bringing those people back, they probably need a bigger paycheck if they're going to like star in the movie the entire time, right? So it's probably just a little bit of column A, column B, where it's just for the director's benefit to get rid of them, you know? But yeah, I agree.
I'm sure that Ellie Cornell was not out picketing for a bigger paycheck.
No, but I mean, I'm sure the discussion comes up. She doesn't specifically do it. I'm sure the agent probably says, well, she starred in this other one, and now this is another one, and these movies make buckets of money, boatloads of money, you know?
I kind of thought that maybe, because like you said, Colton, 4 kind of sets up that, like, we're gonna go to Jamie being the, like, villain, where I was like, this would have kind of made sense for Rachel to be, like, the final girl of this series if her adoptive sister is, like, the killer from now on. But where they were like, no, we gotta bring Michael back, then it's like, well, we don't really need her anymore, so let's just get rid of her.
You're actually giving it more depth. I don't think you even realize you're giving it much more depth than it deserves.
I think that was
because
the plan
that
in 4,
actually
though.
does make sense. Yeah, because it's still a similar dynamic to the, like, Laurie Michael, you know what I mean? That sort of, like, half-sibling, but in this case it's adoptive and stuff like that. And, you know, of course, she was wearing the clown costume like he was at the beginning. So, maybe you're not giving it too much credit, but I still think you're giving it a little bit more credit than it deserves, and I love that.
Speaking of villains, Loomis, what the fuck?
Oh my god.
What the fuck are they doing with him?
I love how much he screams at children in this movie.
I've said it so many times,
so
like,
the villain?
Could they please have just killed him at the end of the first movie? Because God love the actor, but I don't ever want to fucking see that character again. I wish I could erase him from the whole Halloween series. Come after me, y'all, I don't care. It's like, he's awful. He's an awful character, and like he's just, they keep centering everything around him, and I'm like, stop. He's awful. I can't take him anymore.
I kind of liked him.
I loved him in the other movies. Of course you would, because he's a total cunt.
He's so, but like he's like fun to like watch and laugh at in this movie because he's so off the rails, and then he's like, you know, he has like the facial prosthetics that are always shifting, and you know, his arm and all that stuff. It's just like, it's such a goofy character, and also to be like the psychiatrist that like they're supposed to like go to for like some sort of explanation, and he's just literally spouting all this nonsense.
He's unhinged.
He really is. No one respects him.
It's not just that he's yelling at Jamie. I like the fact when he's just like throwing the tables and stuff. Like, He's just like throwing her stuff on the ground. Also, like, is he just living in this like child trauma center? Or because he just like pops out of rooms? He's like, "Oh, I'm here," and it's
that was a great impression. First of all,
oh, listen,
do it again.
Halloween time. I mean, we'll get into it when we're talking about like he's pure evil.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I want to say, like, this is just jumping right to the end of the movie, but with that whole, like, chain net and him beating Michael with a pallet or a paddle and, like, shooting him with tranquilizer darts and shit, I was just like, what am I watching? This is wild.
Silly.
Just to jump back a bit, we talked about, like, Jamie being mute, but I was also curious about, like, what psychic link, I guess it is. I don't know what they, like, dub it. Because obviously, they're using this as, like, a device to kind of get to the kills and get people where they need to be. But yeah, I was just curious, like, how you felt about that, because I was kind of thinking about it, like, this is like a slasher trope now. I feel once you're a couple movies in, at some point, you gotta have, like, one of your female
telepathic
leads.
Or telekinetic power, yeah.
100%, yeah.
They basically just have to face Carrie, essentially, is what's, going on.
Honestly, they did that subplot also dirty, because I feel like they could have really played that up and it just disappeared. But also, how come nobody does that anymore? Like, how come none of the modern slashers have, like, psychic powers in them? Or telepathic connections? Or,
well,
shit
there
like that?
is. In, like, Halloween Ends or whatever, isn't that part of it?
I haven't seen that. I've only seen the first one.
There is. You gotta watch the modern slashers.
Okay, but that's part of this series. I mean, like, outside of Halloween.
Yeah, but what other slashers even exist anymore? They're like a dying breed. Like, there's not too many that even get to, like, a second or a third movie nowadays, right?
Yeah, I can't really think of anything.
Well, you heard Colton. He said movies are dead, folks. Let's just move on.
Oh my god.
Film is dead. There's no telepathic slashers.
No one did it. No one did it better than Friday the 13th, A New Blood. So.
100%. Yeah, Tina is my everything.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my notes. Obviously, the next thing I had was these fucking cops.
Oh man, the circus music playing as they're like walking around.
Awful.
Oh, these bumbling idiots, and it's just like the movie knows they're stupid, but they're just like chewing up the scenery. They're like loving their lives. I'm just like, God, these guys suck.
It's like circus music. There's like sound effects going every time in the room. They even walk like stupid together.
Yeah,
I'm very like. I want to know the choice of they were like, yeah, this needs to be in the movie. It doesn't fit the tone of the rest of the movie at all. And it's just like so bizarre and just strange.
Yeah, I guess maybe they're viewed as like the comedic side characters or something, or maybe they're there to kind of like deflate any tension. But once again, this movie doesn't really build up tension very often. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a baffling decision. The first time when they walk up and I heard the circus, like, big top music or whatever it is, I was just like, what am I watching?
Keep that in Killer
commentary.
Clowns.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, circus music's for killer clowns only, I agree.
Did anyone notice that Donald Pleasant uses his pistol to like turn off light switches in this movie?
And I was like, why would this house have power in the first place?
He's just going around taking his pistols and turning it on.
And he's baffled. He's like, how come the power's not coming on in this abandoned house?
Yeah. I never noticed that, but it might have been the like cold medication I was on. I kept zonking out like every 10 minutes probably. I'd be like, oh shit, I'm watching a movie. I better pay attention.
It felt like a really American thing, to basically be having your guns like such front
Elvis
and center.
changing the channel with a gun. Yeah.
It was just like, oh my god.
Fuck me.
Do a lot of your in-laws, Jill, do that? They just...
Oh my god.
Probably. However, I went
That's how they serve the turkey on like Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, we serve it like on two guns on a platter. But I went to a fucking Cradle of Filth show the other night, and Devil Driver, who I've never listened to, like opened up for them, and they just, in the middle of their set, they were just like, Second Amendment, and then played a song. And everyone was like, yeah! And me and my friends were looking at each other, and we were like, did he just say that? And the vibe was ruined. I just wanted to bring that up because I'm bothered by it.
I can't wait for every episode after this where just at some point I just say Second Amendment.
Second Amendment and watch Jill just melt.
So I kind of wanted to talk about something like good, or that I thought good might be a strong word, but different. So I did want to kind of talk just about like the like camera angle choices, and like it might also be like, you know, prettying up a turd, calling it cinematography. But like I just felt like at least they were like trying to do something a little different with this one. I also
noticed that, yeah.
Because so many of these just really are like, we're going to mimic Carpenter's kind of like camera movement, stuff like that, where I felt this, I was like, okay, like you can tell they were like trying to, you know, make some serious choices of like, we're gonna do weird like from underneath angles and like some sideways angles and
from behind the painting when she's making her paintings.
So I just like, I thought it was interesting, and I was kind of happy that at least, you know, like I said, even if it doesn't work, I like people that try to do something different or like take a swing.
You shine that turd up.
Just shining
it.
Spit shining that turd up. Did you guys, am I the only one that noticed that? You guys
I saw it, and I acknowledged it.
Usually I do notice this, but no, I never actually really noticed. I guess it's kind of like I only watch the movies once a year. That it's, you know, I understand there's some Carpenter shots that they reuse and whatnot, but I didn't specifically notice that this one was like such a, you know, departure from the previous ones.
I will say I kind of thought it was weird too. So this, like, you know, 5 is set like a year after 1. I'd probably be kind of upset if my town just like full out like Halloween party the next year after all these people were like murdered on Halloween. We're obviously selling Michael Myers costumes in the town that just had the murders.
That seems a bit exploitative.
You say number 5 is only set 1 year after number 1?
Yeah, it says 1 it says 1 year later.
It is a year, yeah.
Oh my god, really? Okay. I thought it was 1 year after, like, number 4.
That's what I thought.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry,
1 year after number 4.
I was going to say, what? Okay. I was like, why is there so many Halloweens, like, in all the other ones? I was like, I could have swore there's always Halloween in Halloween.
Did Haddonfield turn into, like, some kind of desert town? Because it feels like it takes place out in, like, fucking the outskirts of the desert somewhere sometimes.
It's the Midwest, honey.
Like, I don't know. Listen, I haven't been further into the States than Massachusetts, so.
You went to Las Vegas.
Oh, I went to Vegas, that's right. Oops, I went to the actual desert. I forgot.
You were drunk,
I was gonna say there was an open bar, and I was so drunk that entire weekend. Like, I literally don't remember anything. I'm surprised I didn't catch my room on fire and burn the whole hotel down.
I don't know if you can really blame them for any of that, seeing how, like, the Michael Myers house doesn't look anything like the Michael Myers house. Like, the inside doesn't look like it. None, like, I was even trying to be like, oh, maybe at least, like, 1 or 2 of the rooms will be, like, dressed.
No, I mean, and there's the iconic, like, window over the door that always gets used in a shot, and it's like, boys, you didn't even get that right. Like,
that's what happens when you reach number 5 into your franchise. They're like, people will forget what that first house looked like.
I still feel like they must have built a set though for this. Like he's still like breaking through doors and walls and shit. So it's just like, why wouldn't you just take the floor plan from the original movie?
I think that's an actual abandoned house. I'm pretty sure I read that they couldn't secure the original house, so like they just were in a totally different place and they had to just like get a place.
They could have tried harder to like make it look like it though.
Or you do a mismatch, right? Like the outside of the house doesn't look like it looked like in the other movies, but you still use the same floor plan, like a set from, you know, that's remaking the other movie. Like, I don't know. There's definitely ways around that. Loads of times in the business, it's like the exterior of the house doesn't match the interior, right?
In the biz.
In the biz. The location managing biz.
And for a slasher, I did have a note too about a lot of rule breaking going on here. You know, I don't like my slasher rule breaking.
Oh, driving around in the car where the movie turns into Christine for like 5 minutes, and I was like, man, I wish I was watching Christine.
Oh no, not the almost inching up to the cardinal sin of referencing something that's much better than almost.
So you guys misquoted me on this. It's when you show like another movie in, like, basically if they would have rolled up and watched like a scene from Halloween 1 and Halloween 5 on the TV, it's like you're referencing a much better movie than what you're pulling off. You know, like
I'm
visual
also,
reference, not just like a verbal.
I'm spinning a theory out of your quote.
I just have to stand up for myself. I was misquoted on, I think it was a Stream Screams or a Now Slang or something. Rowan called it like Colton's Rule or something.
We talk about that like literally every episode.
Yeah.
When there's a shitty movie.
You know,
so.
It's a new theory. I'm like taking it. You might as well write a book about it because.
Yeah, to me, like you said, Mike, it was just obvious, like, oh, we're going to kind of nod Carpenter and Christine. But it was just, like, so out of context. And I was just like, and it lasted so long that it's just like him chasing someone around with a car. I was just like, this doesn't happen in any of the other movies, any of the ones to come. Like, thank God they got rid of this.
And he can't
also
drive.
Put your foot on the gas pedal like it's a little 7-year-old girl. Jesus, she can't be that hard to run over, like, honestly.
That's what I was thinking when they were chasing that little boy. It's like, this is like a tiny child, and you're not able to, like, catch up to them. It was it was ridiculous.
It's always unintentionally like hilarious when they're doing like those chase scenes in movies where like the little kid is like outrunning like the adults. It always just never makes sense unless they're like, I don't know, going through like alleyways or tight spaces and going, you know, you can kind of make it work, but not.
They
in this
actually
scenario.
had the trappings for that working there because they were out in the like fields and woods, and if they ran into the trees, I was like, okay, I can see him like trying to maneuver the car around the trees and stuff, and that actually might have been cool.
He just bulldozed them.
I mean, he bulldozed into it.
That's what I mean. And no, I thought the same thing, Mike, because I was like, if anything's going to stop him, it's these trees. And no, he just stayed at the same, like, pace.
Yeah.
And he doesn't actually use the car to kill anybody, right? Like, he gets out at the end, right?
Yeah.
Stabs her or strangles her or whatever it is. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Because, again, Tina done dirty just like Rachel, but anyway.
I have a question for you guys. What do you think of Michael Myers' competence as a killer in this movie compared to the others, like past?
I think he's losing it.
He's too he's turning too human.
This whole movie to me like takes away just like his scare factor completely. Like, he's not intimidating, he's not scary. Like, the other ones, he's literally just a, like, killing machine. And it's just
and the psychic link actually ruins it, because she's always like, I know where he is, he's chasing after the dog, you know what I mean? And it just totally... It's like that fucking stupid shit at the beginning when he's, like, rolling, like, you know, half dead in the, like, fucking river and shit. And it's like, why would you show that? I don't want to see this. I know that he does something like this to get away, but I don't want to fucking see him fucking Laurel and Hardying his way down the fucking riverbank. Like,
I do.
Jesus.
I want to see that.
I mean, yes, it's... Yeah. For the sake of the movie, I don't, though, you know?
I think his competency as a killer is really low, but this is a hot take. I think Michael Myers is kind of a boring slasher anyways in a lot of these early movies. Yeah. He's literally just stabbing and choking. So I kind of like that he, you know, he has a different arsenal in this one. Becomes like farmhand Michael for a little bit, you know? I like that, where he has the scythe and, you know, the pitchfork and stuff. And I don't know, he has this weird like rake that we mentioned at one point. I don't know.
It's very coal miner's daughter.
Yeah, like they are humanizing him because he's literally like changing up his arsenal throughout the movie. And once again, he can't run over anybody with this car. But I do think it's probably more interesting from a slasher viewpoint. Like, it is definitely closer to like a Friday the 13th or something. They're trying to make Michael out to be like Jason or something. Probably betrays the character, but I didn't hate that aspect of it, I guess.
And I felt too the fact that you're seeing him without his mask on multiple times.
Oh yeah.
Made him a lot more human too, and
he cries, right? He cries
scary.
at one point.
He does. Well, one single tear.
Single tear.
Exactly.
And even there's a scene when he's with that old man at the old man's house, and in the background he has no mask on.
Yeah.
I saw like a quote from the director. He claimed he thought like the single tear, him taking his mask off, made him more scary to everyone.
What?
That's funny.
Because he said if, like, basically humanizes him, but if he still goes through with killing people like he does, that it's scary that he would choose that option.
That was not executed well.
I just think it's perfect, actually, you know, because we started the movie, we're inside the pumpkin, we're inside of the franchise, and now we're getting to the root. We're inside of Michael Myers, you know? We're
oh my god. That's the fucking gay porn version. Inside Michael Myers. Jesus. And next thing you know, Jason Voorhees is drilling him from behind. Or should it be Freddy? Who would Michael Myers hook up with?
Well, one will take the front, one will take the back.
Oh, there we go. Oh, it's a nice Eiffel Tower situation.
They'll high five.
Halloween, happy Halloween. Happy Halloween. Michael Myers getting spit roasted.
Jesus, it's like we're writing one of Jill's books now.
Or, you know, someone gets stuck in the dryer and Michael Myers is there to help them get out with his dick in them.
Oh.
But I gotta agree with Rowan here. Yeah, I don't like what they did with him in this movie. Really incompetent as Michael Myers as a killer.
As the French would say, les incompetents.
Exactly. We see like him behind the scenes, like we see him in every shot in the background, like very obviously. We see him, we already, like we know where he is all the time. And I don't know, he's just not a competent killer, and really deflated that for me, because I love Michael Myers as a killer in, like, you know, the first couple of movies.
Yeah, I guess I've just always found him to be a little bit, like, I understand they really lean in as the franchise goes on, especially in the more recent ones, like he's this force of evil, you know, and that he's actually, like, you know, very powerful and imposing. It's just, once again, with a lot of these earlier slasher franchises, like, you can always tell it's definitely like a person in a suit. And, you know, they're always, like, tripping up or falling over, or, you know, he's very slowly walking behind. So I understand he's imposing to a certain degree, but I guess it just didn't really take me out of it too much. Like, the silly mask, in my opinion, was way worse than his competency with the weapons in this movie. It was just like, oh, my God, what a dork the entire time he was on screen, you know?
What an incel.
Michael Myers is an incel.
100%.
You know he's not getting any tail.
The OG. Yeah, he doesn't want it.
Only in our fantasy Eiffel Tower situation.
Well, and I felt like the other things that, like, took me, I guess, like, didn't make me afraid of them, but were also kind of what I was talking about before, like, breaking the rules. So it took me out of the context of the series, was, like, also stuff like, you know, we were talking about him wearing the other mask in the car. Like, I'm just like, well, Michael Myers, like, wears this mask. Like, he doesn't wear another mask. So, like, even though I do agree that mask looked cool, like, I don't know, save it for another slasher or something. But, like, also in this one, when he's driving the car, he just has gloves on. He's just wearing driving gloves. Which,
delicate hands.
Yeah, which is a choice. And I also feel that the character works best, and even some of the newer movies do break this, but I like it when we don't necessarily, like, see his eyes all the time in the mask. Like, I like when it's almost shadowed. So
shadowed, yeah.
It's just like blackness, because of course.
So it's like a hollow, a void. Yeah, it's supposed to be a void. Yeah,
just a void. Yeah, and I mean, you know, like Loomis is always talking about, like, his eye. You know,
there's nothing there.
He doesn't say his eyes are black. He goes, his eyes are black. But yeah, like, I all that stuff just, like, really, really, like, took me out of it.
Same.
You know, we talked about Jamie and her muteness, but I was wondering if there was a plague in this town of blindness, because this is the worst hiding Michael Myers has ever done. Like, he's literally just, like, standing in the middle of streets and stuff, and people don't see him. There's people that are in his, like, eyesight. They should be looking right at him, and they're like, cool. Yeah, that's cool. There's just a guy in the bushes staring at me, and I'm just gonna ignore it. Like, there was a lot of it.
There was. Yeah, I'm just still shocked at what you just said. So.
Yeah.
A plague of blindness. Dear Lord.
It literally sounds like a Nobel Prize winning novel, except it's Halloween 5.
Isn't that a movie? That blindness movie?
Blindness, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that was originally the Halloween 5 script. And then
Jose Saramago was definitely inspired by this movie, Halloween Part 5.
I was going to say, the only other thing I really had that I think we probably should talk about is the fact that these are supposed to be connecting movies, 4, 5, and 6. And
don't spoil 6 for me.
I'm not spoiling 6 for you. But we...
Oh, there's no spoil in that, my friend. You wait until next year.
But
you won't know what hit you.
We have the Man in Black in this film that, no one knows.
There's no
explanation of. I do enjoy at the end when this movie turns into, like, Rambo, and he's just, like,
oh my God,
everyone
the
up
fucking
with a machine gun.
Yeah.
I'd also, if anyone is, if any of you guys are science nerds, I was curious how metal jail bars stay on fire.
Yeah, oh my God, that's literally... So I have to say, the VHS... Like, to me, the one thing I always remember from this movie, because of the VHS that they had when we watched it when we were kids, was there was a picture on the back of her in the jail with the, like, bars on fire. So that's all I've ever remembered from this movie, and I'm just like, it does not make sense.
They chose to highlight that, huh?
Yeah.
I never noticed that.
That was what they immortalized in one of the stills, was the fucking metal bars being on fire. Like they were fucking black birthday candles. Like,
maybe they were coated in something, like wood.
What? I don't think so.
So I take back what I said. I'm assuming none of us are science
Midwestern
majors.
American practice of coating
metal and wood.
Jail bars in wood.
Yeah, so the Man in Black, obviously we see Michael has a tattoo. He has a ruined tattoo.
It looks like he was lying on, I don't know, it almost looks like a slab of Stonehenge or something.
Yeah.
Back at that, like, hermit shack. I was like, okay, where's this going?
So I think it's nowhere. I think it's an interesting choice. If you look anything into this movie, like, they did reshoot the entire beginning of this movie. So the beginning was supposed to fully explain the Man in Black, the tattoo. We were supposed to go into cult stuff, which, like I said, we don't want to spoil it for Colton, but we'll get into that in 6. But yeah, 4, 5, and 6 are... I can't... Do you know, Mike, what's the, like... This kind of has, like, a tag name for this trilogy. It's like the Cult of something or whatever.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. But basically, once we get to 6, Colton will see, like, they basically tried to change so much of the lore of Michael Myers to make this a far more, like, supernatural story.
Well, yeah, because, like, at that point, I guess slashers had fallen out of vogue, so it's like... Well, let's not make it a slasher anymore.
What if our slasher is spooky and mystical? But yeah, I was just curious, like, someone like you, Colton, that hasn't seen 6, like, with the Man in Black, were you just like, what the fuck? Or were you just like, I don't really give a fuck? So
I actually thought it was interesting because I clearly knew what they were doing. They were trying to set up for like a future movie, like, and in a way that like you can't really just retcon or cut around. Like, I guess you could go to number 6 and he's not in there at all. But if like he was so much throughout the movie and they showed like the tattoo and stuff enough times that I was like, this feels like they very much are, table setting for number 6. Whether or not it pays off, I have no idea. But it was the type of thing where I was like,
a little bit of Chekhov's gun there with the tattoo.
Yeah, it was just interesting where it was like, okay, they know that these movies make enough money or that the franchise is going to continue, that they actually are setting up all these little things that, I don't know, I assume they'll be in the next one at least a little bit. It definitely did give me like occult rituals, type of a vibe. I wouldn't be surprised if he's magical to some degree in the next one or something silly. So I definitely did get that. It was more so just like interesting to me because a lot of these movies, despite, I feel like when you're making Halloween 4, you probably know that it's successful enough for Halloween 5, but they kind of just tease it a little bit in Halloween 4 that like, hey, this could be the future of the franchise, right? Whereas this one, it felt very much like there's shit in this that makes absolutely no sense unless there's a 6th one. Right, like Man in Black showing up with a machine gun and blowing up a police station and setting, Michael free is just like, what is going on? And then that's like actually just the ending, right? It's just like, oh, okay, that's it. So yeah, I don't know. It was interesting to me. I don't know.
In a culmination of all these things we've watched, I just kind of wondered to myself. I was like, when you get on an elevator, it's just like a common practice. You don't have a 13th floor. So like slasher movies maybe just skip having a 5th movie. Because I was like really thinking about it. I was like 5 for this, 5 for Friday the 13th, which I feel is like universally almost hated because that's the one that, I won't spoil that one, but yeah. And then 5 for Nightmare on Elm Street is also.
Oh, listen, we're not gonna slander Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. Not on this podcast, my friend.
Oh well.
Not if I'm gonna.
There will be slander.
I can't remember if that's the one I can't remember if that's the one I really liked or not.
Oh my god, probably.
No, I'm gonna pick it just because of that. That will be. Oh nope. Guess what? I just changed it. No, I'm kidding.
But yeah, I was just like bad luck for it all.
It was kind of random, but I did like how basically I can't remember her name, but was it Tina that was dating Mikey?
Tina,
and how she didn't realize it was him. Or it wasn't him that he had died. She didn't realize it was Michael Myers. And she kept being like, Mike. Like, I don't know. I just kind of liked how they had the same name. And he just was kind of playing along with it and sitting there and not saying anything. And when someone
because she wasn't wrong. It was
exactly,
Mike. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think somebody, I can't remember who said it tonight, but something about how he's an incel, basically.
Yeah.
I think he was kind of like feeling
I kind of think so too. They were on a nice little date, He spins the car around to get her some cigarettes. I think this could have went a different way.
She didn't die. Like,
she didn't.
Well, I mean, not then. She did eventually, but
But yeah, during that time, and he's just like, nobody can see what I'm
doing.
But yeah, he's feeling it. Yeah.
Oh, he was getting a little like chub going on there for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. This sounds like we're heading into more Jill book territory. So
listen, maybe
Jill's
We've kind of been towing that line
fiction.
the whole episode. So
yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah. I guess if that's what everyone has to say about this so far, let's land the plane and get into rating this. So if you're new to the podcast, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Xylia, you're back on the podcast. What is your thoughts on Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers?
Well, I'd give this a nay. And I think the only reason you should watch it is if you're intending on watching the entire series or like entire franchise. It would be kind of awkward to just randomly skip this one, so you probably should watch it, but otherwise it's a nay.
I heard that despair in your voice knowing that you'll have to watch the next one, so...
Yeah, it's just, my favorite thing to do every year. What about you, Colton?
I think I'm a little bit more positive on this movie than some of us here. Don't get me wrong, this is definitely worse than number 4, but I didn't really hate a lot of the changes they made with Michael, because I just don't really care enough about the character to, like, clutch my pearls or like be like, oh, he's incompetent. For me, it's like, even I go back to the first one, I still think he's incompetent in some of these like chase scenes and stuff. Yeah. There's just something about like the early slashers, once again, where they don't really 100% know what they're doing, and like it is just somebody in a costume that like they do kind of come off a lot of the time as a little dopey, whereas like that is something that a lot of the newer ones do when they're doing like the reboot or whatever. They do very much treat the slasher with all this reverence and respect that they don't come off as silly a lot of the time. So for me, that didn't really take me out of it. I thought just some of it was just funny enough that I enjoyed it. Like him going down the lazy river is so good.
Yeah.
I like when he's wearing the brute mask and driving around. It makes no sense. The telepathic stuff, I was just like, sure, whatever. So I don't know, a lot of it, I was like, this is okay. I did get bored for a good section in the middle, but that's where I kind of checked my phone a little bit and took some more notes, and then I was past the boredom part. We were at the barn scene. I was like, great. So yeah, I don't know, I'll give it an okay. It's definitely worse than 4, but I didn't find it to be torture, and I think a lot of that was just kind of like laughing at the movie / being like, what am I watching? So yeah, I didn't hate it. What about you, Jill?
I'm glad you had a good time. Michael Myers trying to be the dwarves in The Hobbit, but yeah.
What's that reference from?
The Hobbit, when the dwarves jump into barrels in the river and go down the river. You probably don't know that one.
Just like you didn't know Return of the King.
Yeah, your namesake. Anyway, yeah, I really like a lot of the Halloween movies. The original, of course, 2 and 3, and some of the later ones. But this one is not a competent Halloween movie. I don't know what the fuck they're doing with the lore. They butchered my boy, Michael. They butchered him. He's not scary. They take away all the mysteriousness from him. I don't like the psychic link. It was just thrown in there. It was weird. I usually love Loomis. Love what he what he brings, but he was just like, I could not redeem him in this movie. I hated him. What else? I don't know. I just didn't like it. It's a nay for me. What about you, Mike?
Like Colton, I'm gonna actually give it an okay. It holds a place in my memory of being like, oh, one of my favorite ones, and then every time I watch it, I'm like, wait, no, that's because I saw it when I was like literally a child. Why do I keep holding this? I see the cover and get excited, and I'm like, ooh, the little girl in the clown costume, like facing off, against this big bad slasher, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot what this movie actually was. I mean, it's not as good as number 4, but I feel like it's not like some steep drop. I feel it's like a continuation, but it's just like slowly petering out instead of just like diving off the cliff. So it's disappointing for that. I liked the psychic thing, but I feel like they didn't push it enough. Like, I feel like they should have either gone all the way with it or just dropped it. Yeah, and they did all my girls dirty. Like, Rachel got done extremely dirty. Tina got done dirty. I hate Loomis. I hate the cops. Like, I laughed at the derpy river escape. There was a couple of cool moments, but like, I just was like, man, I can't. It's an okay. Bro, go for it. Please, reel it in.
Even it out.
Yeah.
We've got 2 nays and 2 okays.
So for me, because I am going to, jump on the side of the men.
Oh my God.
I am also going to give it an okay. Is this probably what I think one of the worst ones of the franchise? Probably, but I think Halloween's worst is better than a lot of other series is worst. So like, I can't give it an A. There was like little parts about it that there was some glimmers of hope. Like I said, I enjoyed the like different camera work in it and some of the stuff they tried to do different that may have not necessarily worked. But I will say it's like a okay with like hesitation. This isn't one I'm like just putting in when I want to watch a Halloween movie. I'd much rather do that with like 1 or 2 or 4 or 3 or whatever. Probably any other one. But yeah, so I'll just give it okay.
You love a pretty turd.
Yeah, that's right. I like a pretty turd.
Rude. No, I don't mean it like that.
That is a phrase that you just said out loud. That happened.
I mean, he started it. I am just bringing it full circle. I mean the movie.
So we told you what we thought about Halloween 5, and we asked you what your thoughts were on it. We had 2 people write in, both on Slasher. Halloween 5, people just not clamoring and jumping over each other to get their responses in on this one. But we had Halloween Guy 6 write one word, and he just wrote, okay. So, I guess another one on our side. And then we had That's a Fact from Slasher Right and say, overall, slay. And then said, my order puts it pretty solidly in the franchise middle. And then they actually let us know their top couple, which is number 3 first, Zombies 1 second, then 4, 1, 5, 2, and then he said, then the rest. So
the rest.
So he's got this ranked pretty high on there. Loves this one. I'm curious if it maybe, I feel like a lot of people would kind of be in your boat, Mike, like seeing this when it first came out or just that kind of situation. Because I have seen people online that like every year post kind of about 4 and 5 and like people that are like, oh, I saw this in the theater when I was a kid. Like, I love this one. So maybe, who knows? To each their own. But I think with that, I believe Nicholas has called us in with his thoughts. Maybe he'll come in with a slay on this one. So we shall see.
Is, for me personally, the worst Halloween movie of the franchise, or let's say on par with Halloween Resurrection. Those 2 are for me the worst 2 entries in the entire franchise. And Halloween 5 is in that category because for, I'd say, 90% of the movie, it is just the most boring rip-off of both Halloween 1 and Halloween 4, which I'm not a great or huge fan of, but I can respect for being a solid slasher. Halloween 5 is mostly uninspired, not scary. Michael Myers definitely needs some training. I don't want to fat shame, but just his, the mask somehow doesn't fit. There are a few sequences which I kind of like, mostly towards the end when he's hunting Jamie in the house, but that's not enough to save the movie from the nay I'm going to give it. You have this character who's, I think, called the Man in Black, who somehow helps him or captures
spoilers.
him. Yeah, it's not a good movie, not a good Halloween movie. They kill off the final girl or Jamie's big sister or stepsister from Halloween 4 fairly early on. And there's nothing worthwhile about this movie except maybe that it really had the idea to keep those two comedy cops in the actual movie who do nothing except make the movie worth. I hate it. Sorry guys. Hope you guys have a bit more fun with the movie, and I'm looking forward to next year because I do think that for all its faults, the Revenge of Michael, the 6th movie in the franchise, is bad, hilariously bad. So I rather watch that one.
Okay.
Well,
that evens it out.
He's on our side, Jill.
He's on the girl's side.
Hey, I'm also on the girl's side.
Not this time, bitch.
Not
no,
right
you
now.
gave it an okay.
You gave it an okay.
I know, but like
in general.
Just in general.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, yeah. One of us.
Always.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in Nicholas. Clearly, he has no taste. Giving this movie a nay. That's shameful.
He's right.
Yeah, and if you want to be like Nicholas and leave us a voice message to do so, you can hit us up at itslaispodcast@gmail.com, or you can just do so on our socials. We're everywhere at itslaispodcast, and if you get us a voicemail, we'll make sure that it makes it to the air. If you made it this far in the show and you're not following us on our socials already, you can do so at itslaispodcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Slasher, Letterboxd, Threads, Blue Sky. If there's a social media, we're probably there at itslaispodcast. And if you want to support the show like our horror hounds, Holly, Nicholas, Patrick, Mark, Stephen, Joy, and Carvey gain access to the Patreon-exclusive show Stream Screams, hosted by Jill, and get episodes of this here main show 48 hours early. Be sure to head on over to patreon.com/itslaispodcast and choose whatever tier works best for you. Rowan, go ahead and plug the playlist.
So you guys know what I'm going to say. It's spooky season. It's wrapping up, but it's never too late to be jamming the spooky music. So go to Spotify, to the It Slays Podcast horrific playlist. If you have any problems finding it, you can go to any of those social media Colton mentioned beforehand. Go to the bio, click Linktree link, and you can go right to it. We upload scores or licensed music from horror movies we reviewed, or iconic horror movies, or just horror movies we've loved. And I mean, you want to be cool like OG cast member Xylia, and she's banding out to the playlist. I didn't pay her hundreds of dollars to say that. I promise you I didn't. So go do it and get your spooky music on. And all that is left is to announce our next movie, which is a Mike pick. Mike, why don't you let them know what you have chosen?
Okay, well, get ready to feast your all's eyeballs on Rob Zombie's The Lords of Salem.
So get your eye sockets on The Lords of Salem. Oh yeah, we should probably mention next month, Stream Screams, we're gonna switch it up because Jill, the inside of Jill was dying. Just watching Tubi movies every...
Do you finally admit that Tubi is a shit streaming service?
No, it's
absolutely
amazing.
Not.
I never said it.
It was Netflix.
But we are going to be reviewing the Creep Show television show on Shudder. Because every episode is, the length of a movie, essentially. So every Stream Screams will be a different one. Maybe we can convince some people to come visit us, because we're not reviewing, Requiem for a Scream on Tubi. So yeah, we will be back in 2 weeks with Lords of Salem, And as always, I am your humble host, Rowan.
Bye, it's Mike.
I'm Colton.
And it's Jill.
Bye, it's Xylia.
And happy Halloween!
We're going to expand our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Mom with the new fletch.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
We've got to return some videotape.